All right, let's try this again for the third time because my phone went in silence. Just kept beeping and beeping and beeping and beeping and beeping. God damn you. I want to do a video about somebody I have a lot of respect for, and that's Edward Snowden. It's a little caveat here. It's funny that I don't follow a lot of Western media. I leave MSNBC on when I travel somewhere, but I don't follow Western media. I don't trust it. And, you know, I spoke on it due to them pushing the Iraq war and getting it done, getting it through. It's interesting when I see, like I go on Instagram and there's these, these Westerners, these Europeans that they do stuff copying our culture. Like this is one boy on there, he's a kickboxer, and he actually did some kind of like Joker stuff, like the Joker paint for Halloween. And it's just crazy because I think that pretty much only was, might have went on, I know it pretty much was put out in America, so it's an American. It's interesting that I'm looking at world culture and Europeans and stuff are looking at American culture. I don't know, just something I thought about. Y'all are trying to be like us, and I'm trying to, and I think I have. I think in large part I have this myself from a culture that really has no soul. Like my dad calls a throwaway culture. 110% true. Throwaway culture. Now, I want to talk about Snowden. I started waking up and I started figuring out about eugenics and all this stuff, and just waking up to the bullshit that a white supremacist society puts out. The New World Order, and all that. I didn't realize the New World Order is white supremacy. It's not so much just rich cabal people as much as it is class and rich white men wanting to maintain they stay rich and the world stays white. So I started talking to white people, hanging out with white people and stuff, because when I would speak to black people, they didn't get it. Like this one lady said something to me like, he's messing with our food. And I was just trying to tell her about stuff I had learned about them poisoning the food and stuff. And some of that stuff I was talking about wasn't even being done anymore. And I couldn't understand why, why it was. But anyway, I started, hanging out with a lot of white people and stuff. And I had some white friends, and it's people that today I wouldn't mind talking to, or, if I could meet again. But I didn't understand white supremacy. And I didn't understand that I'm a socialist, and that let's finish. So I followed InfoWars. I followed people like that because they kind of spoke to what I already have inside me, what I already know, which is that this society is fucked up. It's destructive, and for a while. He spoke truth to power. He spoke truth to the things I knew and things I researched and learned. And I just think about the fact I was a metalhead. I used to listen to Kill Switch Engage. Listen to Sky East Airplanes. Used to listen to stuff like that. Just really, really angry stuff. And that was a dark period in my life. I was very angry at the way my mom had died. My mom died when I was 13. And, being a black man and all this kind of stuff, I didn't really quite deal with the way I should have dealt with it. The church kind of abandoned me in some ways. They did. I just go ahead and just put it out there. It's true. And it's okay now. I can say that I'm okay with that. And so I talked to this guy one time, and I was like, Snowden is my hero and stuff. And he was like, well, my son is in the military, and my son says that, you know, he's like crap or whatever. And I didn't really know what to say or how to respond to it. Let's go ahead and have this discussion now. If, first of all, his son is probably a person that is trying to rise up within the ranks. Let's say it like that. I watched a show years ago called Carrier. Really good show. And I wanted to join the military back then. So anything military that was on, I wanted to watch. It was about these people going on a naval cruise. I was just following them, you know, out to the Middle East and back. And it happened a couple of years before they showed it. So it was all old stuff. And I noticed how there's a lot of intelligent enlisted people. There's a lot of stupid people doing stupid shit in the military. A lot of dumb, ignorant fools just wanting to go on liberty and drink and fuck and just stupid shit. I think one of those guys, his job was to do the like sexual assault duty, and he ended up getting accused of it from somebody else. Stupid ass shit. And he. You have a lot of that. You also have a lot of intelligent folks in the service. And they gave their little opinions on the Iraq war and stuff. And just they said things that now I know are 100% true. And just true. But didn't know then. But then there was your fighter pilots and your flag officers and stuff. And I found it interesting that a lot of them were smart, multiple college degrees. But they weren't too smart. Do you understand what I mean by that? They're smart. They're not too smart. They're not smart enough to question what America does. They're not smart enough to question America's role in the world. They're not smart enough to question, hey, where are all these bombs going? Hey, where is all this artillery going? Hey, why are we hurting these people? Why are we bombing these people? They're not smart enough to do that. They're smart enough to be allowed to walk into these other positions. Does that make sense? They're not smart enough to actually question. And I find that very interesting. I find it interesting now, looking back at that. Now, that's because they want to make it into the higher place. Whereas you're an enlisted person, now you have folks that have served 20 years enlisted and never become an officer. That's in all branches. You have folks like that. They're, you know, going sergeant or something, still sergeant until they was, you know, retire or whatever. And be loved by everybody that serves them. It is an honor to serve alongside them, excuse me. Now, if you are living in America or living in the West since 9/11, and you think that the world is the way it should have been, that the refugee crisis, that these wars and all this is just normal, you can turn the video off right now. And a lot of people are like that. What I've realized is a lot of folks don't watch the news anymore. Oh, it's so bad. It's bad stuff. Yeah, but that's life. That's called being an adult, baby. It's called being an adult. Guess what? We pay our taxes, which means our money goes to that warmongering overseas. See, that's what I realized, and that's why they're not frustrated, because they're not paying attention. It took me a while to realize that you have a lot of people that really aren't paying attention to what's going on, and so they don't know, and so they watch this crap, and they watch it. And I was on the road while I wasn't even watching the news, but I come home and know more about what's going on in the world than folks who actually sit and watch the news every night. Watching human interest stories and crap like that, and propaganda, getting them ready for the next war. But if you watch Putin's speech back in, what was it, like 05 or something, I think it was before Obama got elected, or right before his first term, he was talking about how, do you know, he was at the UN, he was like, do you know what you've done? Do you know what you've done? The West is turning the world in an irreversible direction, and all this kind of stuff. If you watch that and you nod your head, then you know what I'm talking about, what I'm about to say. That if you're watching this world and you're watching these bombings and America bombing Somalia and all these other countries and that we're at war with like 4 different countries at the same time, we're living in a country where we got bridges falling down and roads in shitty ass condition and people not being able to have health care and things like this in 2019, but yet they're always building new tanks. They're always building new bombs. They're always building new nukes. They're always building new military weapons. And you're wondering why? And also the encroaching military-industrial state that we live within. And before I remember, it also goes into the police. What we see out there. We're all Palestinians now. That's what these black men getting murdered is all about. But if you're living in this world and you're seeing that and you're shaking your head and you're even looking sideways at like, why? How do we get here? Why are we here? Then you need to take a look at what Snowden was talking about. Snowden said that the danger with the spying and all that would be we would face one day turnkey tyranny. I think he's right. And I think he's right to the point that we're already there now. I think we're there. I think that we're really there now. I think that Trump. I think a lot of folks didn't know what that meant. I didn't. I didn't know. I think we thought it'd be like George Orwell shit. But you got Trump, who utilized a top secret server to hide a conversation he had with foreign officials about how to extort them to get information against his contender in the next election. I said too much at one time. But if you look at that and you're just shaking your head like, what the fuck? I think that's what Snowden was talking about. I think that's what he's alluding to back in 2013. I think that's what he's alluding to. That's what he meant. Not that, we're going to have men marching down the road with rifles and ski masks and like in Mexico or in Stasi, Germany. No, I don't think that's what he meant. In this case, you just had a 2-bit petty crook in the White House that used top secret intelligence servers and equipment to hide his misdeeds. And I think this put a human face. I think this really showed you Snowden was right, and that we're in a different era of the white supremacist state. We're in a very different era right now. One that I'm not sure we ever faced before. So, for me, Snowden is a hero. He will always be a hero. And I think about him sometimes. I feel for him. He's a man without a country. And he could be rich. He could be rich over there in Russia, and I could be a broke-ass man over here barely paying my rent. But you know what? Let me tell you something. Snowden will never be able to just go somewhere. Like when I went to California when I was on the road, I just went and did stuff, walked to the Walmart, walked across the interstate. Across the bridge. He can't do that. Snowden will never be able to just go to Central Park with his kids. Even if you get Bernie Sanders says, all right, look, we're dropping all charges. Nothing will be done to you. Everything will give you safe passage. He will never be able to just go to Central Park with his family and just let his kids just run in the park and he just, just sit back on the bench. He can't do that. He can't do the bullet that kills him may not even exist yet. The gun model that fires the bullet may not even be invented yet. The man that pulls the trigger may not even be born yet. Do you hear me? But it's just that real. It's just that tangible. It's like I can feel it. It's that real. The threat against his life. That's why when Trump talks about wanting to expose the whistleblower, I know what that means. And we've had so many other folks come out against him. You'll say, why does he care? Why are you worried about that? Because it's personal now. It's personal. It isn't just about the case. It's about, I want to fuck up this person that worked for me that snitched on me. See, See, Trump he's a goon. He's a crime boss, man. And you have to be a crime boss to understand what he's talking about. He talks about calling folks snitches and telling them. You have to understand this is a crime boss using crime boss language. Quick question: how can I snitch on someone if they haven't committed a crime? Can you explain that to me? How can I be afraid of you? You know, basically, he's getting mad at them for cooperating with law enforcement. I think this is a whole new era. I mean, I kind of love it because it makes conservatives look bad. But it's a whole new era in conservatism that you've actually got a president who's persecuting a whistleblower. That's breaking the law. Or it's like when he's talking about they should go back to their own countries. Guys, that's harassment. I looked it up. If he was a federal employee and he said that, he would be fired. That's harassment. Like, that's one of the examples they list of telling somebody that. He would lose his job. This is a whole new level. And I don't think we ever faced anything like this before. You had plenty of racist people that work for the federal government. Okay. You had plenty of racist folks have worked in the federal government and all that. But I don't think if anybody's ever actually come out and officially said these kind of things. So I just want to go back to the point that if you're looking at America and you scratch your head and you wonder how we got here, in a way, I think a lot of us see Trump. We see Trump as something that had to happen. He's a person that is just utilizing the mechanisms of force and power that was already created under Bush and Obama. 16 years of war. That basically allowed him to, it's kind of like they say when someone's sick or they're not well, it's easier for them for they catch another disease. Or it's what they say. People who are drunk or mentally ill, it's easier to be possessed that way. That's kind of how I feel about America. That if we weren't in this state of perpetual war, I'm not quite sure it would have been as easy to get a Trump. And that's something about fascists and these perceived tough guys is that they need that state of war to exist. They can't operate with peace. Hitler was like that. They need war, constant war. So for me, Snowden is my hero. Valerie Plum is my hero. And I hope that he can wind up like Valerie Plum. I think about it sometimes about how people really came out hard on her. And the guys at Knight Ridder that exposed the war in Iraq was a lie, that it was falsified from the beginning. See, this is the stuff people should be teaching their kids about. People who, they know what's right, and they're willing to give up their careers, their family name, and even their lives to expose wrongdoing and to see the truth be exposed. The truth see the light of day. As Alex Jones used to say years ago, speak the truth, may the heavens fall. This is what we should be teaching our children. Not about sports, not about some football player, not about somebody in a movie. It's about integrity. And I just wonder how America got this way to where integrity is not a value. Peace, y'all.